We are here. It's spooky season. Naturally, it's our annual, non-intended spooky episode titled Classic Horror. This is 168. We've come a long way, boys. We're going to get to 200. You'll see. A very rare podcasting, especially with how infrequent we record, / every 2 weeks sometimes, kind of. That's a big milestone. I'm very excited to get there eventually. How's everyone doing? You in the Halloween spirit?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. These games spooky out?
More or less. I also watched Poltergeist last night.
Like the original? With Drew Barrymore?
Yes.
It is Drew Barrymore, right?
No, you're thinking of E.T.
Is it... Oh, it's, Who's the little girl in Poltergeist? It's shoot.
I forget her name. I think it's like Heather or something.
No. Actress in
Heather O'Rourke.
Poltergeist. All right, what is she in? I know she's in Poltergeist. She was in something else. But yeah, I was originally thinking of Drew Barrymore, but fuck.
There's also in Poltergeist 2.
Oh yeah, who could forget? Exactly what. Oh, the girl from Heather O'Rourke, Poltergeist 2, of course. All right, no, I was definitely thinking of Drew Barrymore. You're right.
Yeah, you're thinking of E.T. That's what she was in.
Yeah.
I mean, they are both Spielberg movies.
But there's another horror movie with a famous female actress who was a child. I just can't think of it. Anyways. One of these games made me feel real uncomfortable the whole time and kind of on edge. And then the other one, I felt, well, it depended which version I was playing. Let's just say, I'll save the rest of the remaining of those thoughts so we get to the games. Your overall feelings besides, I guess you were spooked out, Colin?
Oh, the first time I played Silent Hill 2. But ever since clearing my place of a mouse infestation, I'm kind of numb to fictional scariness.
Little pitter-patter of things you can't explain doesn't hit you the same anymore.
Kind of.
Joey, what spooks you out the most?
Well, one of the games, the faces.
Ooh.
They just are so uncanny. Like, they're just so weird.
There's no eyes.
Never eyes. Eyes and spooky movements and uncomfortability. Yes. All right. That is the point to spooky season. It's making you feel uncomfortable. Do games frighten you the same way as they did when you were a child or teenager?
I don't think so. At least not anymore.
Yeah, I don't get that. It has to be a very particular game, because I remember playing like Clock Tower 3, or just one of the other Fatal Frames. I can't remember which one, but even Silent Hill, even when I was a teenager living in Germany, it was super uncomfortable, and I was always on edge and sweating, and I'm playing these 2 games now, and I'm so much more calm and collected. Maybe I'm just numb to them now, or maybe graphics from back then don't hit the same as they used to,
That's possible.
I think once you get past the ambient sound in a lot of these games, it doesn't really have anything that builds up the tension. It has like that Resident Evil 2 constant noise no matter where you are.
Yeah.
It's also possible as adults, we have a lot more on our minds, and therefore it's harder to really allow ourselves to get immersed in what's happening. That's just my perspective.
Yeah, I'm thinking, what's the What's the supernatural game, Joey, that we massively enjoyed with the mind powers and the tower and all that?
Mind powers and the tower.
Maybe it wasn't the tower. It was the labyrinthian, all changing. Yeah, the gun control. Yes, thank you. God, I'm really bad with everything today. In Control, I would say kind of the beginning stages of the game gave me, like, I was pretty uncomfortable and on edge. That's definitely my two description words today on this podcast. But once you get a couple,
you didn't really know what's going on.
Yeah, when you had no idea what's going on, what enemies you were going to encounter, and then once you go through the game for a few hours, then you just kind of get used to everything. You realize, oh, I'm maybe overpowered. In the case of maybe Resident Evil, where you get to that point, maybe the game goes on too long, and that kind of makes you lose your immersion. I think that's a good example.
I would say Phasmophobia. When you first start out, you don't have any good equipment. You're in a house. You don't know what to expect from the ghosts. You don't know how they haunt you or attack you or anything, or where to hide. So you're on edge, and then you lose money when you die.
Mm-hmm.
So even after you work up, you lose. So you have all that until you finally play enough, and then you have enough money that you're like, whatever. If I die, I can just buy everything again. It's all good.
Yeah, you lose your sense of consequence.
Yeah, but in the beginning, you're kind of like, okay, where am I? What am I doing? It's a dark house. I have this crappy little flashlight. What's going on?
I think I definitely prefer the horror games where I feel helpless the entire time. I think that's what gives Fatal Frame a lot of staying power even today, or at least the older ones before they went full on like waifu with it.
Yeah.
Because I've found if I'm playing a horror game like The Suffering, you remember that game, Joey? You and I really enjoyed that for whatever reason.
I remember joking about the name, but I don't really remember the game that much.
Well, eventually, it's we were kind of freaked out in the third person, but once you get so used to firing off this glory of weapons, then you're just more having fun rather than being spooked out the whole time or scared. Maybe that's just a transition into an action game, but I think that loses its appeal when it's, to me, the initial hook is this is a scary game. Resident Evil has kind of fallen into that trap many times where it just feels like an action game with horror elements.
Yeah, I can see that. I remember the game I remember spooking me out the most over my life was Half-Life.
Oh, you mean Luigi's Mansion? I'm pretty sure that's what you said, right? Half-Life, huh? Okay, do tell.
I mean, I first played it when I was 12 years old, so I think that had a lot to do with it. I don't know. I just remember, I think the lack of music had a lot to do with it. I wasn't sure how to feel. I wasn't sure if there was going to be another big enemy popping out at some point. I wasn't sure if I would have enough ammo to deal with the onslaught of enemies. I just found it to be an uncomfortable experience, but I still wanted to keep going with it. And I remember Dead Space even kind of spooking me out.
Dead Space is another example. It gave me the same feeling as Control, and that lasted a lot longer. I thought Dead Space was phenomenal in that. I didn't play the remake. I still enjoy playing the original. The enemy designs freak me out a lot. Stellar Blade, even. Talking a very recent game, it gave me a lot of horror, scary vibes because of how helpless in combat I was for a long time. And the enemy designs were very freaky. There's a lot of jump scares around the corner, a lot of enemies, kind of like in Silent Hill 2, where you know an enemy's there or you believe it, and they kind of keep you on your toes with this corner doesn't have one, the other corner doesn't have one. Oh, surely it's the third. Nope. And then you turn around and there's like some RNG thing that happens that you get caught. I thought Stellar Blade did a great job with that at the beginning of the game, and then again you gotta get used to it. But I thought Dead Space kept that up through at least the first half of the game, and something I definitely did not feel like playing or get that feeling in Dead Space 2. But maybe that's because I already went through the entire first game.
Resident Evil 2 did a good job of that, because sometimes you would pass through a place you've already been, you're like, okay, there's nothing here, and then things will bust through the window or whatnot.
Yeah, and then boom, big pervert in a trench coat comes at you, and you're just like, why won't he die?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good example. Yes, Silent Hill 2 is really good at doing that, is making you go through areas that you've been to and think you're safe. And all of a sudden, nope, there's the radio interference that you constantly hear coming up again. You're like, what the fuck?
Yeah. I remember Resident Evil 3 had kind of the right idea, at least for how to scare me. Just like having a virtually unkillable enemy constantly stalking you. Like there's no time to rest and breathe. It's just once you get into a room, he'll bust through the door right behind you, and all you can do is run most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
You can slow him down by shooting him, but essentially it's like Terminator 1, more or less.
What do you guys think of, because I've seen this in a lot of horror games, because I went through a slew of just trying a bunch out from different generations, and that's kind of why I'm like talking about all these right now. This took precedence. It was just something I wanted to do over the last couple weeks. It took precedence over playing, Final Fantasy 15, Horizon Forbidden West some more. I was really playing through the beginning stages of a lot of different horror games, most of which we played on this podcast at this point. What do you think of these horror games with boss fights or encounters which you are helpless? You aren't meant to actually fight them head on. You're supposed to either A, run, and sometimes you have to figure out a puzzle midway through, or a puzzle in general during the fight instead of actually fighting them. What do you think of that as opposed to meeting them head on and trying to beat them?
Yeah, I think the second idea you posed would be more scary, because since you can't fight them head on, there's no real hope of like overpowering them.
Mm-hmm.
You have to use your brain to do it, but if you're in a kind of a fearful state of mind, it's hard to make your brain work properly, and that kind of makes it even scarier. Sort of a death spiral.
Yeah. Okay. Joey?
I guess it depends on the game. If it's a game that I know there's going to be boss fights that I actually have to fight, then I'm going to like it, but it can be pretty jarring if I think I'm just going to be constantly running and trying to get out of the horror, and then I have to fight something. So.
Well, one of the key aspects of Clock Tower 3 is you have to solve a puzzle, and that is the boss fight, and you're trying to avoid damage. Then there's your Resident Evil boss fights where you're meeting them head on. And then there's the case of Silent Hill 2, the very first Pyramid Head fight. I think a lot of people know of is it's neither of those things. You just have to survive for X amount of time, but you can't just run away the whole time. You have to actually engage the boss to do some sort of damage. I think when I was 13, it was much scarier because I'm like, I don't know what to do. I'm running around. There's no indication that this is what I'm supposed to do. And then the siren goes off and he just kind of pieces out. And then I play it when I'm, pushing 40 here pretty soon these days. Happy birthday, by the way, Joey.
Thank you.
Yeah. What'd you do, by the way? Did you do anything special?
Nope. I had pizza, and then I had a cookie cake that was decorated to look like pizza.
Oh my god. Typical. I expect no less from you. Oh shit, what was I talking about? Oh, Pyramid Head, yeah. And I play him now when I'm almost 40, like Joey here. And and the siren goes off. I'm like, yeah, you run away, bitch. I got you. You can't handle this. Just like yelling at him. Much more confident. Goes through the door, closes it. I'm like, get out of here. I got you. Come on.
Does he move faster in the remake? Because he was really slow.
Yeah, I know what you mean, because I got to that point in the original, and he's super slow. I think they were accounting for the jankiness of the controls from back then. Much more difficult to move around, so he kind of had to be slower. In the new one, he's still pretty slow, and the controls are more smooth. I found it much easier to dodge, but the dodge mechanic, pressing circle, is... You have to be pretty precise with it and maintain a certain degree of distance, otherwise you will get hit. So I think it evened out. I think they did a good job with that fight from the original to the remake. A lot of limitations going from the PS2 versus the PS5. I know that's a crazy statement to make. Can kind of do more in today's technology with games. Yeah, I'm with you, Joey. It certainly depends on the game. And if they set it up properly, I think that's the statement I'm going to make there. It seems like a cop-out answer, but I think it's certainly built on circumstance and how well it's done.
Yeah, like Resident Evil 2, you're like a cop, so fighting doesn't really seem too far-fetched. But in like Fatal Frame, if I had to pull out a gun and start shooting, I think that would be like, okay, just jump the shark.
Oh, if you're a 15-year-old Japanese girl helpless in the woods, if you're pulling out AK-47s, that might be a little weird. Well, even even our main character in Silent Hill 2, he has a melee weapon of randomness. It's either a 2x4, lead pipe, whatever. And he just has this handgun, and you get guns as you go on. But I think it's a little too powerful for the guy, and when you keep playing the game, especially in the remake, it's more about kind of going through the ambiance and story rather than any actual combat. And I think that took a lot away from what the original was able to do. And I think that's a circumstance of today's environment in gaming. It's a shame it doesn't... Like, I'm certainly glad that the remake exists, because there's a lot of struggles through that PS2 version, the original, and the remake does an excellent job. And if I was a child playing the game or a teenager, yeah, I think I'd still be in that same mindset. But modern gaming certainly does change a lot of how I am playing this game today. Okay. 18 minutes into this thing. Colin, what game have you been playing? What games?
Well, whenever I've not been keeping on the lookout for mice, I mean, I cleared a total of 7 of them out of my place.
Ooh.
One night there was 5 at once. Count them, 5.
That's so many.
Yeah. I mean, 2 of them were in spring traps, and 3 of them were in a single sticky trap. So, but after moving my stove out from the wall, I found some possible entry points and stuffed them with steel wool. But then another one got in, and this time I found the entry points around where my furnace and water heater were. And then after trapping that one, I haven't seen any signs of other mice since. Oh, and since last cast, I've lost 4.2 pounds.
4.2.
Yeah.
It's very specific.
Yeah, I've been on a weight loss journey since the beginning of August.
What's been your key exercise for you? Because I know it varies from person to person.
Mostly just going to work. I mean, my job involves a lot of lifting.
Okay.
But the real thing, game changer for me, is portion control.
Oh, yeah, diet. I mean, come on. That's why I skipped it. I'm like, okay, I assume you're eating healthier.
Yeah.
So then what would
I
be
mean,
the other thing? And you're just saying like work in general. I'm very much the same way. I think I've lost a few pounds here in the last week or two just doing that.
Yeah, I've been doing some home exercises. Jump rope, lifting, or bicep curls, burpees. What else?
You don't have a random
Planking.
coach whipping you to get you into motivation?
Well, I do fitness boxing on the weekends.
Fitness boxing, does that involve a evil coach hitting you when you least expect it?
Depends. It's a
Okay.
Switch game, so.
Oh. All right. For some reason, I got an image of your like dad busting through your door. Colin, you're not doing it hard enough. Go! And he like smacks you upside the head real hard.
Well, at some point, I would like to get an actual punching bag. So, just to do some actual boxing sort of thing. As for the games I've been playing, I've mostly been messing around with Xenocrisis and Blaster Master Zero 2.
Oh, okay, you got a particular taste right now, I see.
Yeah, more or less.
Little twin stick type action. Okay. Those are fun.
Yeah. I mean, ever since I finished with Tears of the Kingdom, I've just been kind of drifting a bit.
Oh, I have not picked up that game since my island stranded time on the island. I haven't picked it up. I've been playing Zelda Echoes and then all the horror games, but I haven't gotten very far in Echoes to really make any further statements that I didn't make already on the last cast.
Alrighty. That's pretty much everything I've been playing. How about you guys?
Well, before Joey answers, have you checked out the game Metaphor yet?
I've been hearing about it. I've heard really good things about it, but I haven't really sunk my teeth into it.
Yeah, apparently it's the new like Persona 5 type situation going on.
Yeah, that's what I've been hearing.
Yeah, a lot of people are into it.
Yeah, Metaphor Refantasio.
Yeah, what a fun name, right? Let's see here. What does it have on Metacritic? Look for it here.
It says 93%.
God, is it really that high?
Yeah.
Yeah, 93. Wow. And it's currently on, let's see, PS5 for sure, Xbox and PC. Yeah, all in the lower 90s, lower to mid 90s. I've heard it's a very grind-heavy game. I wonder if that's true.
I wonder.
Yeah, it's certainly a game I'm very interested in, but with everything I'm playing and going through right now, I just do not like. I can't even devote enough time to Persona 5. Do you think I can do Metaphor? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, really.
Yeah, let me go to how long to beat here and see how long this fucker is. Let's see here. It is 76 hours. I guess it's not as bad. I was thinking it was going to be at least 100.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of like Elden Ring. That's one where you just got to go, okay, for the next 6 months I'm playing Elden Ring.
Yeah, I think the next RPG I'm going to really sink my teeth into is South Park Stick of Truth.
Oh, that's fun. Yes, you must do that. Joey agrees.
Yeah.
I speak for him, obviously. All right, Joey, you're up. What have you been playing?
I beat Ghost of Tsushima.
Oh, full thoughts. Gimme.
DLC. I liked it. Which spoiler, I guess, on like a 4-year-old game, whatever. I chose to spare the uncle because I felt like that fit the story better.
Ah.
Because I mean, the whole third act, you have all the things of like your old archer friend not killing his thing.
Yep.
The old samurai lady being still upset with like revenge, not really fulfilling anything. So I think I'm more geared towards that. But I know the developers wanted you to kill him. The emotional ending, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I guess you're giving him a one last honor thing, but it just felt like more for growth of the character, he wouldn't kill him because he's kind of like against all the stubborn samurai way, and the way that they were talking with like the father in his past. Even though he was a samurai, he still kind of was more brutal, I guess, on the battlefield. So I don't know. I chose to keep him alive. That bastard can hunt me down.
Okay. All right.
So I'm working on the DLC right now. I'm not too far in the story, but I think I did all the other side content.
I did not buy the DLC. How is it so far?
It's not that bad. I like the charge from the horse, so the horse actually can go into battle. So that's nice, but don't really care too much about the animal shrines. So you just have to move the controller up and down while you play music.
Yeah, I don't care about that either.
Yeah. Other than that, it seems fine. It's more just a story of the island, I guess, where the dad died and like the raid of why the island hates him, just slaughtering the raiders. So it's dealing with that past, but still trying to convince some of the people that you're there to help. So interesting story. I should hopefully finish it here in the next week or so. And then I beat Satisfactory. So sent off the last shipment of goods and then got left on the planet.
Is the DLC of Ghost of Tsushima called Legends?
I don't know, because I just got it from the PlayStation Network and it was all included. No, Legends mode, I think, is something else.
Or is that the online mode?
That's
that's online cooperative. Okay.
DLC is Iki Island. Iki Island. So I don't know how much it costs, but it was included in the free game that I already got, so might as well play it. Then I played some Timberborn because there was an update on that. There's a wind state. And I got that last night on one of the maps with one of the races. You just have to build a monument that spreads like tree seeds to try to save the planet. And I think that's it. Oh, I downloaded and played a little bit of the trading card storage simulator. TCG Card Shop Simulator.
Oh, I've heard about this. Like, very vaguely.
Yeah, you just have a shop. And you sell, like, Pokemon cards that aren't Pokemon cards. And then you can open them up and then sell your good cards. So you got to balance out your inventory and whatnot. And then there's body spray that some stinky customers come in and you spray down. It's a stupid little game, but it's fun. I played 4 hours of it. I'll probably continue playing it. So yeah,
okay.
That's all I've been playing.
So it seems Iki Island can only be bought in the expansion, I guess, for the full thing. So it's $20 right now. I think I'm going to spend $20.
Don't think I would either.
All right. Okay, 28 minutes in. Let's talk some classic horror. Okay, so here we are. It is classic horror time. And, I mean, what more reason is there to talk spooky games than Halloween? And this is, the 4th or 5th Halloween-themed episode we've done in some capacity. And I chose a couple sequels here. We've played, I believe, the first Fatal Frame and the first Silent Hill. And here we are playing the sequels to those two. Let me see. When was the last time we played Fatal Frame? We played Fatal Frame back in episode 31. Basically, 6 years to the day. That's wild. Okay. And then we played the first Silent Hill. Yes. Good parenting episode. August 9th, 2020, back in episode 74. Okay, so there's your references if you want to go back and listen to those. What a weird topic we had back then.
That was my game choice too. Not my theme, but my game choice.
Yeah. Oh boy. Overall thoughts over the two games, Joey?
No, they were all right.
Okay, Colin.
Yeah, they were pretty good. I think they did what they set out to accomplish, and they did it well.
Yeah, I chose this also because the remake of Silent Hill 2 came out earlier this month. I've been busting through it. I'm about halfway through the game in total. I did play also basically to the same point in the original, so I really got a feel with what was changed, controls, graphics, the whole deal, what that means. And then Fatal Frame 2 is probably one of my favorite horror games of all time. It's certainly up there. I should come up with like a top 5 more that I think about it. And I wanted to know what you guys thought of, the take picture as you're a helpless Japanese girl game. Okay, so the first game is Fatal Frame 2, The Crimson Butterfly. It used to go for around $20 to $25, and then for some reason the pandemic hit and it went up to like $80. And that's how much it costs to get these days. Pretty wild for it. It takes about, I would say it takes 9 to 10 hours to beat. I did beat this game again. I did play it to completion. It took me about 8 hours, mostly because I still remembered how to play it, and I think I played it like 2 years ago as well. So, still pretty fresh in my mind what to do, how to play the game. I did kind of bust through it pretty quick. So I guess combined between this Silent Hill and the original, probably played about 36 hours between the two games, and then another probably 4 just fucking around in random horror games from the past for the topic at the top of the episode. Fatal Frame 2 came out in 2003, not during Halloween. It came out during Christmas. Developed by Tecmo. It is out also on the Xbox. I have the Xbox version. I believe my original PS2 version was stolen when I was in college, so I had to replace it. And I was like, fuck it, I'll get the Xbox version. You are not twins, but you are particularly... your main characters are Mayu and Mio. You wander into a village. One of the twins disappears, and then you try to go through the village finding her. You come across the camera obscura, old school camera that can see and tackle ghosts, because your village is an unlocking of it's like a cult that's trying to open up like the abyss into the demon land or some shit, and for some reason this camera can, I guess, attack them and keep you safe. And all the while you're essentially unlocking information over the cult and going through fighting the spirits in order to find your lost sister, who's possibly possessed, possibly taken by the cult. You don't really know throughout the game. You get a number of different theories on it. That's where we're at. Colin, what'd you think?
Well, give me a sec. Yeah, I like this one. I mean, the movement controls were pretty good. I mean, they're kind of similar but different to, say, Silent Hill. I mean, in this one, you just go where you point the analog stick.
Yep.
Whereas Silent Hill, you need to point the direction you want to go and push forward. Basically, tank controls there.
Yeah.
And I thought there was an intriguing story. I mean, there was this... Apparently, the developers actually went out of their way to make the story more enjoyable than the first one, because Apparently, players were too scared to finish the first one.
I didn't know that.
So they wanted to, yeah, that's what I read on Wikipedia. They just wanted to give the players an extra incentive to actually finish the story. And also according to Wikipedia, this game is widely regarded as one of the scariest games ever made.
I could see that, especially at the time of 2003. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It certainly holds up. I'm always shocked each time I play it how well it holds up. I think the lesser graphics maintains its ambiance throughout.
Yeah, you gotta use your imagination a little more.
Well, it forces you. Everything's very gray and blocked out, and you have just enough sight where it's not a issue, but you can't make out things enough. So yeah, your imagination tends to run wild in the game.
Yeah, it's funny. I kind of, when it comes to games that are more like pixely and such, if they're like horror games that are made in a pixel style, then I kind of tend to find those a little scarier. Like, say, Lone Survivor.
Okay.
I don't know if anybody remembers that one.
I do not.
Oh. Well, it's a survival horror game from a 2D perspective and very pixel art graphics. I recommend checking it out. In any case, the controls for the camera obscura were really awkward because when you switch into the viewfinder mode, the left analog stick becomes your aim stick while the right stick moves the character, and that
Yes, you can't move while using the camera. It's an old camera, Colin. You can't blur the ghost. You can't get that blur. It'll never attack him right.
No, you can move. You just use a different stick to do it. It's just super awkward. It's like backwards from what you're used to. I don't know if that was the point or not, but I tended to find it really frustrating. Not game breaking, but kind of frustrating. And I only played like 1 or 2 hours. That's all I had time for.
Okay.
But I liked what I played. I was convinced that the sister who runs off was actually dead the whole time, because at the very beginning we find out she was in an accident that hurt her leg, because throughout the game we see her limping.
Yep.
But from what I've read, that's not the case. But from what I've seen, it seems like a pretty interesting story. Just like a botched ritual to keep away the evil that was encroaching on the land, and then the maiden who was supposed to be sacrificed just goes nuts after death and just terrorizes the village, and now they're all they're all more or less frozen in time, just stuck in that moment as ghosts. And now only Maya and Mio and Mayu, damn it, these names. Yeah, they're the only chance anyone has of breaking the cycle.
As fate would have it.
Indeed.
Yeah. All right, Joey. You're the man with many words.
So many words.
So many words. Fatal Frame 2. The Crimson Butterfly. Are you...
Oh.
Do you now have PTSD, and every time you see a butterfly, you freak out and think you're staring into the abyss?
No.
Oh.
But anytime in the woods, I'll be thinking of saying Mayu 1,000 times.
That's good. Not wrong.
That cutscene went on a little too long of her just running around shouting her name.
Yeah. There's not much of it after that, though.
Yeah, I know, but it's like the typical Japanese trope of saying the character's name for some reason instead of saying anything else.
Well, it's like Heavy Rain. You're going through the mall. Jason!
Yeah.
Jason!
I was just thinking of that.
Jason!
Jason!
Mayu!
Oh, boy.
God. How helpless did you feel overall? Because that's kind of the feeling a lot of people have playing this. Joey?
Well, I guess
I mean, kind of helpless. You're just a teenage girl with a camera. So what can you really do besides shout a name and take pictures? And their faces, like, they're too smooth and pale.
Well, it makes you think they're dead the whole time, right?
No, it made me think they were dolls.
Oh, well.
Uncanny Valley.
I felt pretty helpless much earlier in the game because you only have the one type of film you can use against the ghosts. So it really forces you to wait till the ghost is perfectly in the camera so you can use less film to attack him and attack him more efficiently. And then once you get the more powerful film, then you can switch between them, and then it becomes less of a fear in instance. But the fact that you're still only able to move the camera and you can't like back away really during shooting, still very effective. I wish there was more spirit variety, I guess, to it. I think that'd be cool. And I'm having trouble wondering if the later sequels of Fatal Frame do that more.
Well, there was one ghost to deal with when you're like on a bridge crossing a river, where it'll actually like come up from below and grab your foot. That was different from a lot of the other ghosts.
Yeah.
And then at another point, you encounter a ghost so powerful even the camera can't do any damage to it. So all you can do is run away.
Well, that's the top of the cast. I was talking about that kind of fight. Very much Pyramid Head like, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the other thing this game really did, and you mentioned a story focus, is there's multiple endings to it, which I didn't know until like a couple of years ago, where depending on how you play the game or decisions you make, just a couple though, there's, I think, 3 endings, and to me, all 3 of them make sense in their own right. You either leave the forest without her, ditch her, you become blind, or you're both back in there, but one is still possessed. I think I got that right. I do like that aspect because it gets you to have your own theories over to what actually happens to these characters in truth. I think the ending the developers went with canon is the one of the sisters is now blind, and the other has to now rely on the other to live, and that's what she wanted. I think that's what the sister wanted. I think that's the one that developers wanted.
Wikipedia says the Crimson Butterfly is the canonical ending.
Yeah, the one where she just like fucks off and leaves.
I guess, because that's, I guess, what Fatal Frame 3 is off of.
Oh, okay.
Well, I read that Fatal Frame 2's continuity doesn't really have anything to do with the other games. It's like 1 and 3 are connected directly, just like with the Silent Hill games.
Okay.
Because the first game apparently also has multiple endings, and only one of them is considered the true ending to lead into 3.
Oh, I didn't know the first one had multiple endings, or maybe I did and I forgot.
Well, it's just what I read on Wikipedia.
One of the endings was added in the director's cut, so it wasn't in the original game. The promise ending, where you perform the ritual, freeing the villager spirits and thus sparing the two.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Okay. I definitely have always gotten... No, I got a new one this time, and that was the Promise. That's what I got. Yeah. So do I have the director's cut on the Xbox? I don't see how that's possible. Oh, I have the digital one on the PSN. Ah. I've never gotten the Crimson Butterfly ending. Okay, great. So good. I've definitely seen a YouTube video of it. Okay. Yeah, I definitely want to go and play, or at least remind myself of the first game again, since it's been like 6 years. But I know I don't have Fatal Frame 3, and I know it's expensive, which sucks. I think it's like over $100.
You might be able to get a digital version on the PS3 PSN, because that's how I got Fatal Frame 2 for my PS3.
Is Fatal Frame 3 on PSN? I don't think so.
It might be. I mean, 2 is, at least on the PS3 storefront.
I don't think it is. Well, anyways. The final boss / end game, I think, is very fun because it really gets you to feel like the story is coming to an end. I think they did a great job with that. Getting to the abyss after all that, the cult-like atmosphere, the last enemy that feels impossible to beat, and then that sense of hopelessness from the story perspective comes through, and what these sisters have to go through. Now, I think they kind of went over the top with the captured damsel aspect of it. I think there was too much of, oh, there she is. Oh, there she goes. Oh, there she is. Oh, there she goes. Okay. Oh, come back. Oh, where'd she go? Like, oh, fuck. Again? Over and over again. I think that was a little too much. It almost feels like it would have been better if she disappeared. You see her, like, once to, like, remind you where she is. Like, gives you that sense of, oh, I almost had her. That felt like the end, but then it goes again. Like a big bad enemy that was marred mystery more, I think would have given it more impact to the end. But there wasn't much mystery to me that for me to put pieces together to get the full aspect of the story and enemies and what this cult was doing. Very good game. I love this. I pass it.
I pass it.
All right. So our next game is, yes, Silent Hill 2. Konami. Came out in 2001 in the fall. The remake just came out a few weeks ago upon this podcast episode. This is regarded as one of the greatest games of all time. I think it's very much marred in when it came out, fit what people are going for. I also felt like Blink-182 could have also been the soundtrack to this because of how melancholy and life sucks attitude towards it all. Like every character is just, man, yeah, I'm here in Silent Hill. What of it? like Eddie, the teenager, even the child was very much like, leave me alone. Ugh.
Everybody's got something to work through, and
Yeah.
Hill itself is capitalizing.
Yeah, I guess so. Let's see here. The original did eventually come out on the Xbox. I don't remember if it came out at the same time or it was delayed. Because I always associated the Silent Hill series with PlayStation. Do you guys feel the same way or no?
Yeah.
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 Okay. So Silent Hill 2, you can buy the remake for like $60 or whatever the fuck. The original was like $20 before the pandemic. And then since then, it just continues to shoot up. It's a trend line that's just like straight up. You can't get a loose copy of the PS2 version for less than like $120 these days. It's expensive.
Oh. Well, good thing I kept my copy then.
Yeah, no shit, right? Because I remember, man, I must have got this again back in like 2012 or something. It was like $3. It cost like no money. Because there's just so many copies out there. But I guess everyone's just held on to them over the years. Because collecting has just continued to go and go and go the further or the older our age group gets. And even the generation after that.
Yeah.
Man. So Silent Hill 2. You are James Sunderland going through not Portland, we swear. It's very foggy. Aspect of the original PS1 game to render backgrounds less so, and they can do more within the game. Creates a good ambience that continues here in Silent Hill 2. There's... well, basically, James is coming to Silent Hill because he got a letter from his dead wife saying, hey, I'm here. Come find me. We're in our special place. Or I'm in our special place. He has no idea where it is. He doesn't really remember like being in Silent Hill, seemingly.
Yeah.
And when he gets there, shit starts going down, and he just kind of stays. And he can't really explain why other than he has to find her. And there's a lot of instances when you're playing the game, particularly in the cutscenes, where he clearly feels this compulsiveness to stay that he can't explain. It is not so much an action game as opposed to, and it's sort of a puzzle game. Not really. The puzzles, like Silent Hill's notorious for its like stupidly hard puzzles on occasion, but not really getting that instance in Silent Hill 2. Where it's mostly of you go into, okay, for example, you're in a like drive-in hotel situation. You go to the front desk and it goes, you need to unlock this safe. And it pretty much tells you, go to this room in this hotel. You'll find the answer there. You go get the key or a note that says, in a not so complicated, loose puzzle, it's like math essentially all the time. 1 + 1 = 2, and it tells you that, and then you go back to the safe and get it. That's like mostly every puzzle in the game, majority wise. And if you get lost in the original, it's very hard to distinguish like where you need to go. Sometimes it's easy to forget. In the remake, it's open up the map. There, go there. You need to go to that building. Okay, Roger. Got it. Much easier. And I think that's attributing to the difficulty level that you can change in the remake. You can change between melee and how hard the puzzles are. They're independent of each other, which I think is pretty cool. So basically, as you're playing the game, you get a handgun eventually, pretty quickly, and you have a melee weapon, and you go and solve those loose puzzles, and you keep wandering around the town, meeting various NPCs that are very much straight out of the year 2001 through 3, in the angsty emo phase that was that era. God, the main character even has the same hair that I did back then. You know? And it's a game constantly filled with ambiance and weird fucking sounds constantly going off, whether it's the disturbed radio interference sound whenever an enemy is close by. They fool you with stupid spiders to make you keep guessing if there's actually an enemy around the corner. And then there's the looming figure of Pyramid Head, who pops up every now and again, where he's just, he's like sexually assaulting these zombie-like nurse creatures and ripping them apart limb for limb. A lot of limbs in this game. A lot of inexplicable sexual innuendos that you don't really understand are there, why they're there. That was very much kind of more of a first game thing that they continued in this one. And then the overall confusion our main character has as he progresses through the game. Okay, I have spoken long enough. Joey, how about you go first this time?
The voice acting is terrible in the original.
Yes, way better in the remake.
Like when you talk to Mary, that conversation is just weird. Or Maria, whatever that girl's name that you thought was your wife.
Yeah, she looks like you, but
like
not.
Your wife. Yeah. That whole thing is just, it was funny. It was just so bad it was funny.
Yeah, old school voice acting. That'll do it, especially on the PS2 era.
Yeah, I didn't play it too long. I was just running around the town in the fog, and then I watched someone play. So I watched probably about an hour and a half.
Did that video happen to get you through the first couple hotels or apartment buildings, I should say?
I watched until the first encounter of Pyramid Head.
Like the first fight or the cutscene where he's like raping a mannequin
first,
thing?
Like fight where you just walk around a room while he follows you.
Okay, all right.
So, yeah, never really played Silent Hill growing up because I always played Resident Evil, and I figured it's probably about the same. Hey, that was me younger.
Yeah.
If I was gonna, funds were limited when I was young, so I stuck to Resident Evil instead of branching out. So,
My parents wouldn't let me play Resident Evil. I had to go to a friend's house for that stuff. I did get to play Silent Hill, though. So that was a parental choice over.
That's funny.
Yeah. It's like, no, Resident Evil has guns and violence and blood. Like, what the fuck do you think Silent Hill has? It's like, oh, no, it's just a story game. Oh, all right. Okay.
With some weird-ass zombie things.
And a very horny villain.
Yeah. Yeah. Colin. What's up, man?
Well, I have played and beaten this one before. I played about an hour or so to refresh my memory for the cast. And I remember the first time meeting Eddie when he was like eating pizza and puking into the toilet. I remember thinking it was really weird because he didn't seem the least bit worried about everything around him. I thought maybe that was bad writing on the developer's part. But then Yahtzee from Zero Punctuation pointed out in one of his videos that those interactions hinted that Eddie and James were seeing different things from the town, which made everything make a lot more sense, since what James sees is all born from his own psyche, and everybody else in town sees something different from their own minds.
Well, no matter what, it's a illusional monster in front of them of some kind. Not particularly what the monster is, but they see different representations of it.
Yeah, just of different versions of what's going on in their own minds, like past trauma and all that.
Yeah.
And yeah, back then I found it a pretty unsettling game. I mean, I'll tell you right now, the air raid siren for switching between the light and dark worlds was an inspired choice for the series, just because it's such an unsettling sound no matter the context.
Yeah, I like how late in the game the like darkness of the town happens. Like it's not just this right away thing where it's like, oh, what is it, like Castlevania? bad things happen at night.
Yeah. It is such a horrible night to have a curse.
Right, yeah. That's what that reminded me of. I was like, oh, we're like 8 hours into the game. It's a horrible night to have a curse.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, the parts with Pyramid Head busting in and throwing you around really do make me jump every time they happen. But other times, he's there, but you don't notice him until later. But he still does nothing. Like, for example, I forget if it's in the school or the hospital. There's a moment where you pass by an aluminum grating door, and he's standing there just on the other side, but because he doesn't do anything and because the camera angle doesn't change and there's no musical strike or even radio static for whatever reason, it's easy to overlook him, and then when you do notice him, it's pretty unnerving. I don't know if either of you remember that.
Well, I know there's the apartment building where he's behind the grate, and that's your first encounter with him, where he's just this red figure.
Yeah.
The remake has constant radio interference going near him. I just made it to the General Hospital in the remake, so I can't speak on that part quite yet.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, and spoiler alert, people. James killed his own wife.
Aw, no way. Aw.
How dare you spoil a 23-year-old game, you bastard.
Yeah, it's getting... Yeah, 23 years ago this game came out. That's always a funny comment I tend to get, is we spoil like anime or games or even wrestling matches. I'm like, okay, first of all, the wrestling matches I'm reviewing are like 30 years old. The games are upwards of 40 to 50 years old. Get over it.
Wait, you're telling me Mankind gets thrown off a Hell in a Cell cage?
That happens, yes.
God damn it, I haven't seen that one yet.
Oh, God. Bad Blood from 98 or whatever the fuck it was. Yeah. Oh, God.
Yeah, James got sick of waiting for his wife to wake up out of a coma, and so smothered her to death.
Shouldn't have been sleeping so long. Talk about lazy.
and he really wanted to bang her, but didn't want to do it while she was comatose.
Yeah, one last time.
And that's why Pyramid Head is so horny. Because James is frustrated.
Well,
what a gentleman.
He was really considerate of her feelings near the end. God, terrible. Yeah. Oh boy. I just played earlier this week the scene where him and Maria are in the strip club. She pours the bottle of whiskey for them both, and he just kind of stares at it awkwardly. He's like, oh man, I want that drink, but I'm not going to have that drink. And then when she leaves, he continues to stare at it, and he makes a very clear kind of subtle motion towards the glass, and then he changes his mind, and then he just stares at it again as it ends the cutscene. I'm like, oh, he wanted that drink. Does he have alcohol issues? Or maybe after his wife died, he developed a heavy addiction and went into a state of depression. Like that was kind of the very first James moment of, oh, this guy's got issues.
Yeah.
More so than believing his dead wife after 3 years is calling for him.
Yeah. And it is worth noting that this is Yahtzee's favorite horror game of all time. He mentions it in one of his latest videos. Says he's played it 1,000,000 times, and thus he can't help comparing it and the remake and what each does better or worse than the other.
Yeah, I'm going to have to watch that video from him. For sure. The original, I definitely felt more frustrated in the fact that I was constantly being forced into melee situations because I don't feel like the gun is very overpowered. You have to be very patient with shooting. Very much a lack of health restoratives throughout the original, and in the remake, it's almost too much. So now I feel overpowered. I don't have to wait on my shooting. There's bullets everywhere. I currently have like 10 health restoratives at almost the same point in the game as I played in the original. In the original, I'm lucky to have 2 at any given time. Found myself in the original kind of restarting from save points because I just ran out of health and was just getting railed all the time. So that wasn't. There's pros and cons, I think, to both versions in that aspect. Joey, did you No, you didn't get to the hospital with what you watched.
No.
Okay. That's a big kind of point in the game where a lot of shit goes down. I recommend you kind of watch a playthrough of at least the hospital section of the game.
I will in the remake. I won't watch the original.
Yeah, watch the remake version. It's way better. At least in terms of watching it on like a TV. Okay. Is the remake scarier than the original? I don't think so. I think with the presentation, and I think it's very much in the same of Fatal Frame 2, where its age keeps it scary, while the remake is more kind of playing like a Netflix show. That's what it feels like. I'm much more inclined to run around, skip enemies, know, oh, this is clearly a run scene, get out of there. The game's a lot more clear in the remake, I feel. Now, is the game dark as fuck? Yes. I think it's too much, and I had to build up the brightness because I couldn't see a thing at any point in the game, especially until I got the flashlight. I was like, I literally can't see where I'm going. This is less fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can turn off a lot of indicators to where I am at health-wise. It was very frustrating at the beginning of the remake where just that red blood was just constantly around the screen, blurring it out. I'm like, this just doesn't make it fun. But then there's like no real indication of how damaged I am, so I found myself turning it on and off at certain points. So, again, pros and cons to the remake and original. I do think it's a good remake, though. I do.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll end up getting it, but who knows? But I've got so many other games in my backlog to get through first. I might just skip it.
I'm certainly more inclined to play Fatal Frame 3 after this podcast than I am Silent Hill 3. But I have Silent Hill 3. I don't have Fatal Frame 3, so I think we know the answer. We know the actual decision.
Consider yourself lucky that you have Silent Hill 3. Because any copies of that, even before the pandemic, are expensive as fuck.
All right, I'll look this up here. Let's see. That's another $120 game. Great.
Yeah.
Good God. Well, you can get the Silent Hill HD collection for like $20 on the PS3.
Yeah, but I heard that's shit.
Yeah, it's not made very well, but you could save $100 just dealing with it.
Yeah.
God, the strategy guide is $60. All right.
Yeah, I'll use GameFAQs.
Yeah. I passed this game pretty easily.
Yep, easy pass.
Yeah, I'll pass it.
Look at me. I picked 2 games we all passed. How often has that happened?
Very rarely.
Yes.
It's like 1 out of 10 times.
That's right. So our 2 games were Fatal Frame 2, Xbox PS2, and Silent Hill 2 on the PS2. Colin, favorite, least favorite, and your tiers.
I think by a narrow margin, Silent Hill 2 is my favorite. And I think I give them both A's.
Ooh. All right. Joey?
Same grades, both A's, and I'm going to say Fatal Frame was my favorite of the 2.
Ooh, okay. So I'm also in the A range. So 2 podcasts in a row, we all gave the same rating for the 2 games. I'm picking Fatal Frame 2 over Silent Hill 2.
Cool.
Yeah. All right, classic horror. Colin, as we head into Thanksgiving in America time frame, and it's episode 169, what is the theme of the next podcast episode?
Giggity.
See you next time, everybody.
It would be nice part 2, but now we're going to give thanks for the female form.
Oh, boy. See you later.
Bye.
Bye now.